Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. And yes, we've got another Bestech today. This is the Bestech TULIP Plus. This is a budget version of the Bestech TULIP designed by Ostap. And I got one of the titanium versions. Those things come with M390 titanium handle, like I said, either as a slip joint or a frame lock. Now for the budget version, they've made a liner lock. Now each one of those three knives has a different system for deploying the blade. Very similar, but a little bit different. We've got a drop point Kiridashi kind of blade. Very good size. I took this thing with me on my trip to bringing my son to Ottawa, and I had it on my carry-on bag when I flew back to Calgary from Ottawa. And that's because as long as the blade is under 6 centimeters long, we can take them on flights, domestic flights within Canada. Inches is on the screen for how big that is. It's got really snappy action and front flipper right there, like you can clearly see. And I want to show you all the details. I'll show you also the titanium slip joint version because I've got that one. And we'll head over to the tabletop to do all that in just a moment. I just have to say one more thing. This thing was terribly sharpened from the factory. I know, I'm just riding this horse, aren't I? But this really was. 325 bests was the score on this thing. And that's because the bevel here with the pocket clip, it had been ground at a very shallow or steep angle, I should say. And then they followed it up more shallow, but that just took off the shoulder. At the very edge on this side, it's very flat. And so it had a tough time cutting through things. Not very useful, but I sharpened it. And this thing is just stunning. Great for all kinds of little ODYSEE tasks. You know, like the most common package opening thing. This thing's just great for package opening. You can hardly find a better knife for doing something like that. And even for packing things up, you know, when you have to cut the tape and things while you're wrapping it. I love this knife, and I carry it an awful lot. You want to see the details? Let's get to the tabletop right now and take a look. Let's begin with the size comparison with the Ontario RAT 1. Yeah, we'll fill the screen with that. It's not very big. Not very big at all. You can tell that by how small it is in my hand. So yeah, zoomed out all the way, you can see it is a very small knife. I really like the action on it. Opens like a dream. Works really well. It does take a tiny bit getting used to that. Let's zoom it in just a little bit more again. We've got 3D milled G10, of course. There's a chamfer here, and there's a milled out section in here, chamfer here. Backspacer in black G10. There was a limited edition version in black that had a red backspacer. Those sold out. I wanted the red, and I wanted a nice satin finish. I don't like a titanium coating. I like a gray wash or a black wash. Certainly I like a stone wash, but just a regular coating, even though it's a titanium coating, I really don't like it that much. So the flats here, like I said, are stone washed, and then these bevels are nicely ground. After sharpening, it looks great. You can see that reflection off there. I haven't stropped it or anything. I just sharpened it to test it out to see how well it cut after I sharpened it. And yeah, it's just a dream come true. I've mentioned that before. It's on other knives. Sharpening just makes a whole world of difference. Factory sharpening just sometimes really sucks. While I was sharpening this, I realized that the center of the blade right here is thinner this way. It's thinner this way at the middle than it is at either end. And you can see that by how wide the grind is up into the bevel here and here. Well, here it's from the plunge, but at the tip of the blade, you can even see it. On top of that, whoever sharpened this at the factory did a lot more sharpening in the middle, and there was a slight recurve on it. Not that hard to fix. Just took a little bit of sharpening. So like I said, we've got a drop point here and then a Kiridashi style blade. We've got some jimping on the spine here. There's also a chamfer, so it's not really aggressive jimping. There's a little bit jimping here for your index finger. So when you're holding it, you actually got a fairly secure grip just with your 3 fingers. Your ring finger can go right in that section. and hold it quite well, or do a pinch grip like this, and that works very well, or like this. And yeah, I like it. It's very, very useful, very, very functional. The pocket clip works great. I'll show you that in just a minute. It's nice. I like these big screws here, that reminiscent of the other one. Badging on the knife is nice and small. It says 14C28N right there, and then Ostap held design there. And on this side, Bestech. I like that it's not dark. It's just nice laser etching and put in the right spots. Very nice. The comparison with the titanium version. Yeah, I forgot about that. I got to go back upstairs and get it. And there it is. It's the same size. I really like that. It's got the same style of milling all over the handle. This guy's also got the pocket clip, but now it's a titanium pocket clip because this is all titanium. There's the lanyard option on this guy. I wish they would have figured something out for a lanyard on here as well. I do miss that because I don't usually use lanyards, but on this knife, when I was carrying it, I did. It's not being carried anymore. This thing's in storage. This is the double detent version. As you can see, there's no frame lock on that side. And it's got the flipper, quite different from that one. See, totally different flipper design. This one, you pull your thumb across to open it. This guy, you can open it like that. I like this better. I like that better. I wish the G10 version was made like this. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a slip joint version in G10 as well. Who knows? I probably won't get it because I've already got it here. Main reason I don't like frame locks so much is I'm a lefty, and that means it's so easy to get your left hand on that lock arm and then make it really hard to deploy a blade. You're just holding it and you're just trying and trying. You just can't deploy the blade. But yeah, that's nice. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful knife. M390 steel. You can still get these. I'll leave links for these down below and the frame lock version. So that's that lockup. Lockup is solid. It's engaged enough to be a solid lockup, but there's room for it to wear across over time. That's really good. There's a nice chamfer on the lock release there. Easy to get your thumb in there to release that lock. So that's a good thing. And no blade play, side to side, up and down. It's a solid lockup. Blade alignment when it's closed, right down the middle, just like it should be. I'm very, very fond of this little guy. I've been carrying it an awful lot. Let's show you what it looks like taken apart. So here it is taken apart, and yes, T8 screws for the pivot pin and the pin back here for the pocket clip. Yep, nice little pocket clip. We've got nice ceramic ball bearings with phosphor bronze cages. Look how tiny those liners are. And yes, a D-shaped pin. There's a D-shaped hole right there that it feeds into. There's a alignment pin right here. And then you take the backspacer off. And there's a shoulder on that. So you can put this together without a backspacer. If you don't want a backspacer, you don't have to have a backspacer. I kind of like the backspacer, so I'm leaving it on. Captured stop pin, yeah, I forgot to say that. And it runs in that hole. It just has the stop on either side of the steel liner. Stops there and it stops there. So, very simple construction. It's time to do all the dimensions, sizes, and stuff. 14C28N by Sandvik's got a Rockwell of around 59 usually. It's a good high carbon stainless steel, and it's one of the best budget steels out there right now. The weight of this knife, 42 grams, 1.5 ounces even. Factory sharpness, I already told you, 325 bests. Now that I've sharpened it, it's at 35 bests. It's not that hard to sharpen. The best way to sharpen this guy, you don't even have to take it out of the knife. Use a clamp, and you just clamp on this flat section on your guided sharpening system, and it's a straight edge, so it's really easy to sharpen. numbers here are rounded to the nearest tenth, so you might not believe how this start is, tenth of a millimeter. This is 35 millimeters wide, 1.38 inches. Tip to the G10, 38 millimeters wide, 1.496 of an inch. The thickness of the knife, 2.34 millimeters, or 92 thousandths of an inch, almost a tenth of an inch thick. The depth of the blade, of course, it's widest this way, right at the heel of the blade, 23 millimeters, 0.905 of an inch. How thin is it behind the grind? Well, I measured it in two places originally, 0.26 millimeters, 10 thousandths of an inch. It's 11.5 thousandths of an inch now that I've sharpened it, but it's still very thin. I like it. I like it a lot. The grind angles. Well, this guy, on this angle, the average is 23.6. On this angle, well, the bevel that was done on the main bevel had two grinds on it. The very edge was a steeper grind at 24.1 degrees, but then there's another angle that covered most of the angle, which was 18.9 degrees all the way along, which means there's two grind angles here. So the very edge was, more blunt than the rest of the grind edge. The length of the handle measured on the G10, 60.7 millimeters, 2.39 inches. The grip area, it's about 5 centimeters, about 2.25 inches. The thickness of the handle, not counting the pocket clip, is 11.18 millimeters, 0.44 of an inch. The depth, the widest point, is right there, 21.5 millimeters, 0.846 of an inch. And when the knife's closed, it's just a little bit more, 24.7 millimeters, 0.972 of an inch. And the total length of this knife with the blade deployed, 98.7 millimeters, that's 3.886 inches. So that's it. How much does this thing cost? I haven't talked much about the price. $47.90 at White Mountain Knives. You save 10% with coupon code CCE, and that makes it $43.11, about 56 Canadian dollars for this knife. I didn't look everywhere, but I haven't seen a store in Canada that has the G10 version, that they actually carry it. Not like Hero, those guys just do drop shipping. But stores that actually carry it, I haven't seen any, so you might have to go to the US to buy this. Will it get across the border? Well, mine did. Hopefully yours will too when you go to buy one. I like that you've got 6 different colors that you can choose from. I like that you get this blade with all of them, and there's 3 or 4 of them that you can get the gray titanium coating. It's very useful. The action's good. It's super useful, actually. I'm just such a big fan of this knife, and I'm so happy that, well, I was very happy when I got this one. It took me, this was out probably a year and a half before I got the titanium one, because it took me that long to save up that little extra money for this, because that's expensive with the M390 and everything. That brings me to a sub thing. This isn't a rant, but it's a sub issue. A lot of people complain, well, hey, that knife is so small, it shouldn't cost that much. The size of a knife has precious little to do with how much it costs to make a knife. This knife and this knife, let's say that they were made by the same company. Let's say they had the same steel. And let's say they were both G10. This isn't titanium. So the same steel. Well, let's do it with this one. That makes a little more sense. So if this blade was 14C28N, like this one is, they're both G10. Does it cost the company much difference for these two? No, it's a very tiny difference in price. This much steel for a knife company, per knife, it's well under $1 per knife to make this, to buy the steel for this blade. If this is under $1 already, a smaller one, well, let's say it's 50 cents. If this was $1, let's say this is 50 cents. There's no reason why, if this knife cost $50, that this knife should now cost $25. there's just no way. It's got the same amount of work put into it. It's got the same amount of labor put into it. It's got the same amount of design work put into it. You know, it's just, they're the same. So many people want small knives to be a whole lot cheaper because, well, hey, there's less materials. Materials are a tiny, tiny portion of the price of a knife. I'm going to make a separate video for that. So, yeah, I like this. I like it a lot. Huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. Huge thank you to my YouTube member supporters. If you want to become a YouTube member supporter, click the join button. It's right below the video right there. Or if you want to do it through Patreon, go to patreon.com/CCE. I need all the help I can get. This is not a cheap industry to be reviewing products of. I need your help, and I appreciate it. And remember, everyone, when you're using a knife, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.